Hi everybody, good morning. Here's the note catcher that you need for today. Okay, and we're actually going to start off today with some riddles. Okay, so I'm going to read you a riddle and you have to try to guess the answer. If you know the answer, shout it out loud or tell someone in your family. I'll let you know what the right answer was afterwards. Okay, it says, I live in an area of land where there are few buildings and most of the land is farmland. Where do I live? I live in an area of land where there are few buildings and most of the land is farmland. Where do I live? Okay, the answer to that one was the country. Okay, how about this one? I live in a place where there are many shops and tradespeople. Where do I live? The answer for that one is the town. I live in the country and I grow my own crops, raise my own animals, and I make my own butter. Who am I? The answer is a farmer. I am a person who works in a job that requires special skills, knowledge, and tools. Who am I? A tradesperson. I am the person in charge of a mill. A place where grains of wheat and corn are crushed by grindstones into flour. Who am I? I'm going to read that one again. I am the person in charge of a mill, a place where grains of wheat and corn are crushed by grindstones into flour. Who am I? The answer was a miller. I am the tradesperson who takes the flour from the miller and bakes it into bread. Who am I? The baker. I am the tradesperson who turns cotton, flax, or wool into thread using a spinning wheel. Who am I? That was the spinner. Last one. I am a tradesperson who weaves yarn or thread into cloth. Who am I? This was the weaver. Okay, I hope you guys got a lot of those right. That was kind of a little review of what we learned so far. And now we're going to get in today's read aloud, which is called The House Builders. Okay, so parents, maybe you could show your kids some of the things that houses might be made out of, like a brick or a stone or a block of wood. Many years ago, there were tradespeople who were experts at using each of these materials to build houses or to build walls. Okay, and we're going to learn about which tradesperson used brick. We're going to learn about who used stone and who would use wood. Okay, and we're going to learn about what they did with those materials to make houses or to make walls. Okay, and nowadays, people still use these same things. These are the things that were used in colonial times hundreds of years ago, but they're still used today also. Okay, listen carefully to learn more about the tools that bricklayers, masons, and carpenters use. Okay, all right. In colonial American towns, most people built their own homes with the help of their neighbors. However, townspeople who were wealthy could hire tradespeople who had particular expertise in building. There were three types of tradespeople who helped build houses in colonial times and who still build houses today: the bricklayer, the mason, and the carpenter. The bricklayer builds walls and houses using bricks. Bricks are made from clay, extremely fine red soil that comes from the earth. Okay, in case you're not sure what a brick is, here's a picture. Okay, maybe you have one somewhere outside in the backyard or garage or something if you want to look at it. A long time ago, people discovered that if you mix clay with a little bit of water, shaped it into a block, and then baked it in the hot sun, it would dry out and harden into a solid brick. Okay, so I hope you were listening. What's the name of the tradesperson who builds using bricks? The tradesperson who builds using bricks is called the what? And if you forgot, that's okay. Just rewind. I want you to try to figure it out, though, so that it'll help you remember it. In this picture, you can see a bricklayer laying bricks the way it was done 300 years ago. He is using a special tool called a trowel to spread the mortar. Mortar is a really gooey, sticky material made of sand, water, and a type of crushed rock called lime. Once the bricklayer has spread the mortar evenly with his trowel, he will add another brick to the wall. If the bricklayer is good at his trade, his wall will be straight and strong and will last for many years. Okay? So maybe kindergarten, we can, to help us remember this information, we can pretend that we are bricklayers right now. Okay? So you have to lift up the heavy bricks and set it down, and then you're going to take the trowel, which is this thing right here. It's kind of like a flat metal tool, and you're going to scoop up some mortar. That's the sticky stuff that's kind of like cement or glue, and you're going to rub it on top of the bricks. And then you're going to grab another brick and lay it on top. Grab some more mortar with the trowel and rub it on top, kind of like glue, and then grab another brick and lay it on top. You're acting like a bricklayer right now. Can you do that? To help you remember what a bricklayer does? And then that might help you with the first question too. It says, how does a bricklayer build a house or wall with bricks? What would a bricklayer do? You could say they would blank. Okay. And pause the video if you need to, my loves. All right. Now we're going to learn about another person who can build walls or houses. This person's called a stone mason, or mason for short. They can build walls and houses using stones. Like the bricklayer, the mason can use mortar to stick stones together. Can you see the mortar in the spaces between the stones in this chimney? Okay, so just like the bricklayer, the mason also uses mortar, that sticky cement stuff, to make the stones stick together. You can kind of see it in between each of the stones in this chimney. Okay. While bricks are mostly the same size and shape, stones can come in all shapes and sizes. The mason has to be careful to make sure that each piece fits together closely with the pieces next to it. All right, so I hope you were listening. What's the name of the tradesperson who builds houses or walls using stone? We know a bricklayer uses bricks, but what's the name of the person who uses stone? Hopefully you remember. If you need to rewind, that's okay. Maybe you'll hear me say it again in a second too. Can you see how the stones in this wall have been carefully fitted together like pieces in a puzzle? To be able to fit the stones together so well, the mason had to chip away at them with a hammer and a sharp chisel, patiently reshaping the stones so that each one would fit perfectly into its space alongside the other. So a chisel is a pointed tool that you can use with a hammer to break off the edges of stones. So you might be holding the sharp chisel like on a stone and use a hammer to hit it so that you can shape the stone into the shape that you need to so that you can fit it all together. Okay? Let's see. In fact, these stones were fitted together so well that the mason did not need to use mortar to keep them in place. Wow, so they didn't even need to use the sticky mortar in between because they chiseled it and shaped the stones so well that they would fit together nicely. In an old colonial town, many masons were asked to build the foundations of houses. The foundation is the bottom or base of the house, the lowest part on which the rest of the house stands. The stones in the foundation must fit together snugly so that they never move or crack. The stones on each of the corners of the house, called cornerstones, are especially important. Strong cornerstones make a strong foundation, which makes a sturdy house that won't fall down. Okay? All right, it says, how does a mason build with stones? What do they have to do? I know that they use a hammer and a chisel. So you could say a mason would, what? Okay, pause that video if you need to. All right, finally we're going to learn about the last tradesperson who can build houses. What was the last thing that I talked about? I said people could use bricks to build houses, they could use stone, and they could use what? Wood. Hopefully you remember. And who is the person who works with wood? That would be the carpenter. Okay, most carpenters begin with a diagram or drawing of what they plan to build. The diagram tells the carpenter how long, how wide, and how thick each wooden board needs to be, and it shows how the pieces need to be fitted together. Sometimes, to save money and time, instead of using smooth wooden boards, carpenters would use rough logs to build houses. Okay. The carpenter would use a lot of special tools. This picture shows a carpenter measuring a board with a special kind of ruler called a square. That's good for measuring angles and straight edges. The carpenter makes a mark on the board with a pencil to show him where to cut. Carpenters have to be careful to get their measurements exactly right. Otherwise, if they cut the wrong size piece of wood or cut it at the wrong angle, the pieces will not fit together correctly and the house will not stand up properly. Most good carpenters measure their boards twice before cutting, just to make sure that they have marked the exact right place. That's why carpenters have a saying. Okay, I'm about to tell you a saying that carpenters might say to each other. I want you to think about what it means. The saying is, measure twice, cut once. It's basically to remind themselves to double check their measurements before cutting. Once they cut a board, they can't uncut it. Okay, so what do you think that saying means? Measure twice, cut once. Why do you think carpenters might say that to each other? Tell your family. Once the carpenter has cut the boards to the sizes he needs with his saw, he fastens them together with his hammer and nails, and then he uses a tool called a level to check and make sure that everything is straight and even. Okay, so what are some of the tools that a carpenter uses? Tell your family about that. What are some of the tools that a carpenter uses? And then when you're ready, you can go on to the next question. It says, how do carpenters fasten pieces of wood together? How do carpenters fasten pieces of wood together? I'm going to reread that part in case you missed it. You're figuring out how do they take two pieces of wood and fasten them together, put them together. Here it says, once the carpenter has cut the boards to the sizes he needs with his saw, he fastens them together with a hammer and nails. Okay, in case you missed that one, I reread it for you. Okay. When a carpenter builds a house, he builds from the ground up. He begins by building the frame of the house. The frame gives the house its shape and holds everything together. So kind of like how your bones are your skeleton of your body, this is the frame of the house. It's kind of like a skeleton of the house, except it's wood instead of bones. Okay? But your skeleton is like the frame of your body. Okay? The frame holds up the walls, the roof, the doors, and the windows. If the carpenter does his job well, the end result will be a beautiful house that keeps rain and wind out for years and years. We know that many early American house builders were true experts at their trades because many of their buildings are still standing today as straight and tall as ever. Although we sometimes call them construction workers, bricklayers, masons, and carpenters still work to build today's homes. Like colonial homes, modern homes can have parts that are built of brick, stone, and wood. But unlike colonial tradespeople, the tradespeople of today use electric power tools to make their work much easier to accomplish. Okay? That's the end of the read aloud for today. Just one more question for you to think about. This read aloud reminded me of a story that we did a long time ago. It was called The Three Little Pigs. Remember that? And we learned about how the three little pigs, they built their houses out of three things. The first little pig built his house out of something. Say it out loud, tell your family. And the second little pig built their house out of what? And then the third little pig built his house out of what? Hopefully you remember. And one of those materials was the best material to build a house out of. I hope you remember which one that was. Okay? So keeping that in mind, if you could choose to build your house out of brick, stone, or wood, which one would you choose? Brick, stone, or wood? And why would you choose it? Tell your family. Okay? All right, everybody, have a great day today. Thanks for being hard workers. Bye.